Hey, if you are a real estate agent that wants to increase sales, right? Maybe you're a real estate agent that's doing one or two deals a month and you want to go to three, four, or maybe even five deals a month. Maybe you're struggling because the market's shifted. Maybe your brokerage isn't providing you the training. Maybe you just don't know the things to say to prospects in this shifting market because we have gone from a momentum-based market, maybe in 2020, 21, to now a skills-based market where things are a little bit different. If you want to make more sales, if you want to help more people, if you want prospects to ghost you less, if you want to hear less of, hey, call me back, we're not interested, we're going to think about it, we want to interview more agents, we're just not quite sure if we want to meet with somebody, we're not quite ready, call me again, call me again, call me again. This masterclass that I did is the perfect class for you. So please do me a favor, register for this class, get the freebie, watch the class, enjoy the content. It's fun, it's engaging, but more than anything, it's super informative. Watch this class. I was reading something on Facebook from a real estate coach, and they said, all you need to do is make more phone calls, make more effort. And if you do the work, you pick up the phone, you make your calls, you're relentless with your follow-up, you remind your sphere of influence and power circles, what you do on a consistent basis, you're going to win. And I can tell you that a lot of people I know do that all the time and they don't get appointments. And the reason why is because of this thing called tonality. And Cody, let me see if I can pin myself here. All right. So there's this thing called tonality. And I know people always say, Vic, this is so basic, right? This is so basic. But if you're not converting leads, there's a reason why. And the reason why is because this tonality portion is off. And I coach lots of people and I coach my own team. I have a sales team. And I'll tell you, when we're role playing, the tonality's off and we've watched hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training. And we listen to our calls, and most real estate agents never have listened to a single one of their calls. And guess what? 80% of the time, it's tonality. It's not necessarily the words that they use or the questions that they ask. Those do play a huge role. But the reason why most people get ghosted is because they're triggering sales resistance. So let's talk about tonality. So tonality has three components. One is your cadence. Two is your verbal pauses. And three is, are you actually being conversational? When real estate agents get on the phone, they tend to talk slow or fast. Just throw it in the chat. What do you guys think? When you guys get on the phone, do you talk slow or do you talk a little too fast? Cody says fast because Cody cheats and he's heard hundreds of realtors calls with me and we've listened to a lot of calls together. But agents talk fast. And you guys know what happens when people talk fast? Especially if your demographic's a little bit older, you're too smooth, you're too slick. What are you trying to sell me? And all of a sudden, you lose people. The flip side of that, if you talk too slow to somebody who's a driver, what are they going to think you are, smart or dumb? It's probably not the first one. So tone includes our cadence. Tonality also includes verbal pauses, right? When you guys get nervous, I've trained people that when they get nervous and they're trying to fill the space, their tone either goes up or it goes down. And it's just because that's how it's not they're smart or dumb, it's just how they talk. And when you talk to a prospect, it's slightly different than talking to a friend. But if we can learn to use verbal pauses, right? If we can learn to use, right? It's very natural and it becomes point number 3, which is conversational. Because I'm probably the only one guilty of this. Maybe Cody's had this, but I don't think anybody else has. But if you guys have, you can put a 1 in the chat. Have you ever got on a phone and you get to like your salesperson voice, or you get in front of a client and all of a sudden you turn like very salesy? And I'm pretty sure there's not a single real estate that I've ever spoke to in the history of real estate agents that said, Vic, I got into real estate so I could be super car salesy. Most real estate agents get into real estate and they're like, well, I don't want to be salesy and I don't want to do this. And that's why I don't like talking to prospects. That's why I only work with my sphere. It's not that. It's just most real estate agents actually don't know what to say to cause prospects to want to work with them. So there's 3 things that happen, right, when you don't know how to say things or when you don't know the right tone to say it. And the first thing is that when you use the wrong tone, it triggers your prospect, right? So have you guys ever got a call from somebody and they're super aggressive or they're super slow or they're super fast? You instantly are triggered. That's a sales call. What do you want? What are you selling me? And before the person can even get out like their typical crappy words, like, how you doing today? They're already being confronted by you, which puts them into confrontational selling. Now, again, I'm probably the only one here who's ever been confrontational, but let's say you're trying to book an appointment with the buyer and the buyer is like, we're just going to wait because interest rates are high. And we think, we just think the interest rates are going to come back down to 3%. And you're like, no, you idiot. That's what your mind says. And when you talk to the prospect, you're like, well, we really need to sit down because I don't think the market's going to change it. Blah, 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 blah. And this is better for you. And guess what? Instead of talking to the prospect and being conversational, you've now become confrontational. And when you become confrontational with a prospect, I promise you one thing's going to happen. They're not going to show to your appointment, but they're going to do whatever it takes to get you off the phone. So that means they're going to book an appointment with you, or they're not going to show, or they're just going to hang up on you. Because again, I'm the only person I'm sure who's ever been hung up on. Cody, have you ever been hung up on by anybody?
Once or twice.
Oh man, we should practice more. And the third thing that happens is that triggers prospects is you saying the wrong things, right? If anybody's ever taken a prospect call or a follow-up call, this is my favorite one. This is the standard one that I hear from real estate agents. Ring, ring. Hey, Kim, it's just, it's Vikram. And I'm just calling because, a note popped up in my CRM and you remember you told me to call you back in 90 days so that we could go start looking at houses. I'm just using your name, Kim. I'm sure you don't do that. And the prospect's like, oh yeah, we're not in a rush to buy anything. Or they're like, we're not interested. Or they're going to say something like, oh, call me back, or I'm busy right now. And then all of a sudden you call them back a week later and your phone number's been blocked. And you're like, what the heck? I thought you told me to call you back. I thought you loved me. I thought we were best friends. I asked about your dog. I asked about your cat. I asked about your child. Remember at the birthday party? Oh my God, you said you had so much fun in Hawaii? And I know you guys would never do this, right? So I'm just talking to myself. I really just do these webinars for myself just to train myself better because I know you guys don't do this, right? But when we have the wrong tone, when we become confrontational, when we say the wrong things, it triggers the prospect to have resistance. It puts their guards up, right? And we all know that the point of what we're doing is to help people, but you've been lied to. You've been lied to by every single guru on stage that says, well, you need to have them like you. They need to like you. No, they need to trust you. If they don't trust you right out the gate, they're not going to like you. They're not going to build rapport and you're not going to have influence, right? So number one is always trust. 2, we then get into rapport. And then 3, we now have influence, right? So I just want you guys to write this down. Just write down TRIM, trust, rapport, influence, method. This is the modern way of selling. All right. This is how we sell in today's day and age where prospects have this website called Google. And now they have this other website called ChatGPT and they have access to everything. They know everything that we do. There is no reason for them to call you to look at properties like they used to do because they don't need you. They have Zillow, they have Realtor, they have this site, they have that site, they have your website. They don't need to call you. The reason they call you is because they trust you and you then build rapport. So you guys have been lied to. I know it sucks, but using these questions right here, right? You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. I have taken thousands of buyer and seller calls. All right. And I will tell you, we don't ask about their day. We don't ask about their family. We don't ask about their bar mitzvahs. We don't ask about their Diwali festivals. We don't talk about any of that. We talk about what their needs are, their wants are. And then once we get into rapport with them, we can learn about them and they can learn about us. We don't say, oh my God, we've helped millions of people sell hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. We don't say that because you don't need to say that if you know how to ask questions and you say it in the right way. So there's 3 things that Sharon always talks about. And Sharon always says, Vic, if you don't provide safety for people, they're not going to want to use you. If you don't validate their concerns, they're not going to want to use you. And if you can't create confidence with them, they're not going to want to use you. And I've been blessed to know Sharon for over a decade when he was over at Telus Properties. And it's always been the same. People need to feel safe. They need to have validation and they need to be confident. And the confidence comes through your process, right? What's your sales process? What's your follow-up process? Do you have one, right? And if you don't, it's cool, but you should build one. Just like Cody has a process for running ads, which is why I will never run ads because I don't have a process and I don't want to figure out how to create a hook and a 10 by 30 DDP as HDMI cable, da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to learn that crap. I just want to press record and be like, here you go, Cody. Here's the Slack message. Tell me when it's up. And he's like, got you, bro. So here's why people don't learn how to do things. One is because it takes a lot of time. Two, you actually have to practice and rehearse. And three, people I just don't think really want to make more sales. No, I'm kidding. Everybody wants this part, right? But nobody wants to put in the time and the effort. Nobody wants to record themselves, right? Nobody wants to block out time. If you guys talk to my team, the first 2 hours of this morning, we made two minor adjustments to the script from my coach's recommendations. They spent 2 hours role playing this morning. I'm like, are you guys going to get on the phones at all today? Like, I mean, we're not paid to talk to each other. Like, you're not buying from each other. Like, they're like, well, Vic, we made some changes to the script and you gave us some feedback, da-da-da-da. They spent 2 hours this morning role playing, right? So you got to block the time to learn. You got to block the time to practice, right? You might need to buy some tools or some systems, right? Or you could just get your phone out that's always on you and you could just record yourself. Even if you don't know what the prospect's saying, if you hear yourself enough times, you'd be like, oh yeah, that triggered resistance. So there's a couple of tones that I believe are really important that you guys should learn. And there's a lot of tones out there, but these are, in my opinion, the most important. One is the curiosity tone. So tell me, what was it about the ad at 123 Banana Street that caused you to want to reach out to me today, right? The curiosity tone. The second one is scarcity, right? Now, scarcity can be used with your tone. You could drop it like, there's information scarcity, as Jordan Belfort says. And then there's product scarcity, like, hey, there's only, if you guys sell new construction or if it's an investment property, or if you guys think that, if you guys have sellers and you think the market's going to crash, like, hey, this might be the last spring we have before the market really crashes. Are you sure you don't want to think about selling now? Right? Scarcity. Or you guys have some special information like, hey, there's only one house left with 5 bedrooms and a main floor bathroom bedroom combo. Did you maybe want to come possibly take a look at it? You guys notice some neutral words in there, some pauses, some neutral words possibly. Might want to take a look at it, right? Very low key. Hey, we got one house left. We got no problem selling it. There's a lot of buyers. There's one house. Do you want it or not? The skeptical tone, right? There's a skeptical tone, there's an assertive tone, and there's an empathetic tone. The skeptical tone is what you're going to use when somebody says something that you just kind of disagree with, but you can't call them dumb. Oh, so you're talking to a buyer, let's say, and the buyer says they're going to wait for rates to come down. Oh, you're going to wait for rates to come down, right? And then you can ask a follow-up question to probe them a little bit. The assertive tone would be like the downswing, right? That's the downswing. And if you got a really deep voice, you want to be careful with your downswings. But the assertive tone is, absolute confidence, right? You are confident about whatever you are talking about with them. I would use the assertive tone probably like, I don't use it as much as I used to when I first got into sales, but I would use it like when you're talking about something that is, you're just 100% confident. It's like, hey, we know that this house is going to sell very quickly. Like, we've had 75 showings on it. And you guys, there are still markets which have crazy showings, right? So it's not all markets, but there are some markets and there are price points in markets. So you're very assertive with your buyer or your seller just to relay the information. We also remember, guys, we have to keep our conversation. Do we want to talk fast or slow with people? We want to talk fast or slow with people. Just throw it in the chat. When you guys are talking with prospects, I know I'm talking super fast right now because I've probably gone over by 3 minutes already, but when you guys are talking with prospects, we want to slow things down. It allows us time to think. We want to use pauses and ums and ohs It allows us time to think. It allows them to feel comfortable and conversational, right? And it allows you to actually convert more appointments or more people into clients. The last one is the empathetic tone, right? And this is like something happened, you lean in, right? And your voice typically drops, you slow down naturally, right? So if somebody says, hey, my dog, we got to put our dog down. You're not gonna be like, oh my God, that's so exciting. You're like, oh, I'm really, I don't even know what to say. That's what I would say. When somebody tells me something like that, I have no idea what to say. The last thing is that you guys can use questions as statements. So instead of making a statement like the interest rates are never going to come back down, just be like, I'm curious, why do you think interest rates are going to come back down? I'm curious, right? Why do you think that now's not a good time to sell versus waiting until next year, right? We're in an uncertain market. We don't really know what's going to happen. So learning to ask those questions would be really important. So real quick, and you guys, Cody made himself available for us to do a little Q&A. So if you guys have Q&A, throw it in the chat now so we can chat about it afterwards, because Cody's a lot busier than I am. I wouldn't go that far. I just ride my bike all the time.
Yeah, we got time. I would love to go through these frames with you.
Okay, let's do it.
As we go through the frames, if you want access to the frames, just fill out I'm going to throw a quick survey in the comment section below on Facebook. And I'm also going to throw the survey in the chat here if you're live on Zoom with us. Fill out that quick survey. Tells us how we did. Like I said, we had nothing to sell you today. Just want to provide some value. And I would love to jam with you on this, because like I know that we both listened to thousands of calls over the last couple of years, and I've been going ham on listening to calls recently, and I had an interesting conversation last night about tonality and asking the right questions. So let's go through these reactivation frameworks. I would love for us to provide some value here.
So you guys, these are three reactivation frameworks. Here's what I'll tell you. If you have a prospect that says they're 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months out, I would tell you that you should meet with them. I would tell you that you should meet with every single person, because you were 10x more likely, right? This is Sharon and I were talking about. He says, Vic, I know why you won. I said, why? He said, you never miss an opportunity to sit down belly to belly with somebody. Even if they said they were 5 years out. You guys, I took a listing from a lady I met at the bank a year ago for $1.7 million because we met for the first time and we stayed belly to belly on Facebook. And you were 10x more likely to secure a client long-term if you sit down with them and you provide them value at the beginning. So we talk a lot about how to book appointments, because that seems to be the number one challenge that real estate agents across the board are having, is how do we get more appointments? How do we get more appointments? And sometimes it's a leads issue and sometimes it's a conversion issue. It's probably a little bit of both. And so this framework right here, right? This framework right here is called the playbook frame. So there's a little bit of stuff like when you guys call people, here's an intro. Cody said we have some time. So I'm going to give you guys an intro that you should always use. And Cody uses this in his call center, and they make thousands of calls a day, and it's like game changer. So when you guys call somebody, right, instead of saying, hi, is this Susan? Oh, hey, Susan. And you have nothing to say. And they're like, oh my God, what do you want? It's a telemarketer. They're already pissed off. Ring, ring. Hi, Cody? Cody May? So Cody would be like, yeah, right? When you say somebody, hi, Cody, or hey, Cody, or yo, Cody, like whatever you're comfortable with. But this is a little bit more generic. My team, we say hey or yo, because we're just your friend. Yo, what's up? So it'd be like, hey, Cody. And you'll say, yeah, Cody May, first name, last name, right? And it's a little bit of an upswing, right? Because it's a little bit of a question. He's like, yeah, who's this? 98% of the time, they're going to say, yeah, who's this? It's almost as guaranteed as birth control. All right. And then I'm going to be like, awesome. Hey, this is just Vikram Deol with Real Brokers. The reason I'm calling today is, we spoke a while ago and I was curious, has anyone recently educated you on the top 3 reasons you should buy or sell in today's changing market? Or I would say, have you already bought a home? Or are you still looking? I'd probably say, have you bought a home? Or are you still looking, because the market has slowed down a little bit? So I would say the reason I'm calling today is because I know when we spoke a while ago, you're curious about homes at the Clyde Hill area. I was wondering, are you still looking or have you already bought a home?
So what Vikram is doing there, I just want to throw out something really
Yep.
important, is he's making it really easy for the prospect to answer the question. I think one of the mistakes that a lot of salespeople make, or a lot of real estate agents make, is they ask open-ended questions, and it makes it really difficult for the actual prospect to answer. So he's asking what we call a sorting question. So what he's saying there is like, have you already bought a home, or are you still looking? He's giving them, he's directing the conversation in order to get them to the next part. I just wanted to break apart what you did there, because I think that it's really important. If you can speak in sorting questions, it will make it easier for the prospect to answer you. So when we train our inside sales agents, we get them to ask them sorting based questions. We do this in text messages too. So if you're running ads, you could send a text message saying, hey, like, if we were to get you access to homes, would you be looking for a big backyard? Would a big backyard be more important, or a remodeled kitchen? We don't really, like, at the end of the day, it's like they might want both. They might tell you both, but you're asking questions in what we call sorting questions.
And here's the thing. If they say they bought something, great, right? Like now at least you don't have to call these people up anymore, and you can put them into a different bucket. If they say they haven't bought anything, now it gives you an opportunity to start having better conversations. So the playbook...
Asking, are you thinking of making a move in the next 3 to 6 months, is an open-ended question. Yeah, I would break it apart. Are you thinking of moving in 6 months, or are you thinking about moving in the next 12 to 18 months? That's more of a sorting question.
So, and the way that I would actually do that, I would place that very carefully in there, but I would say, I'd use the Sharon framework that we created, which is, hey, is this like a Q? So what, we're in Q2 now. So is this like a Q3, or is this more of like a Q4 project?
Yeah.
And if you hear it's just, hey, I was just curious, is this more like a Q3 project or more like a Q4 project? Or you could be like, hey, is this like a Q3 project or like a 2024 project?
Yeah. Is this a spring project, or is this a fall project? Yeah. For people that don't understand, like if you're speaking to a prospect that doesn't understand Q2, Q1. So
cool. But yeah, I wouldn't ask 3 or 6 months, because that is a very salesy question, and that will trigger your response to be.
You're going to get a ton of trigger response.
Yeah.
There. Like, the whole idea, like I've listened to thousands of calls. I went on a rampage last week. I think I listened to close to 100 calls last week from our clients. And there, there's a common trend that I see, and we're going to get into the playbook frame, because I love this, the top 3 things you need to consider in order to win in the market when you are ready to buy. The framing of the questions is so important, and you don't want your questions to trigger sales resistance, because you want to educate. So what I like, kind of the mindset shift, and something Vic and I have been chatting a lot recently with the clients we're working with, is like, I would encourage you to remove the word lead and prospect from your language and reprogram your mind towards, this is a future client. The way that you speak to a future client is like, just mentally is going to be different than the way you speak to a lead and a prospect. You're just going to speak to them more with less sales resistance. So that's something I've been saying to all of our business developers on our team, where it's like, these are not leads and prospects, they are future clients. So just as we get into this playbook frame, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, because it's something I'm super passionate about right now.
So yeah, so let's jump into the playbook frame. So this isn't going to be like right at the top, but this is when you're talking to a buyer, or we'll just use buyers here. Mrs. Jones, has anybody taken the time to walk you through the 3 most important things about buying a home in today's market? Right. So if you're getting a prospect that's like, oh, we're not interested in meeting with you, and they're just kind of pushing back on you, this is an easy one. And I use this like when I was selling real estate, we use this every time, because nobody's ever educated their buyer. Like maybe 5% of the market has actually been educated. And normally what buyer agents do is they get the person says, hey, I want to see 123 Banana Street. They go show them the house, and they never actually educate them on the process. And that's why buyers.
Can we go through really quickly? Because the question I get asked from a lot of our agents is like, well,
let's just role play.
What are the 3 things? What are the 3 most important things towards buying real estate? Yeah.
Sure. So, like we'll just create like a couple for you guys to use, right? So the three most important things about buying a home in today's market, like when you guys think about it, right? And before we just give you guys an answer, like what are the three most important things or what are some things that you guys think would be important for a buyer to know in today's market? Just put in the chat. Like, what are some of the things that you guys think are important for a buyer to know in today's market? What is, they should probably know, like contract to close, right? That's a process. So once you get the home under contract, there's a contract to close process. I would say that 97, 98%, like the only people who ask what are the three most important things are super analytical people. The fact that you say that you know the three most important things creates a ton of safety and confidence in your process that most prospects aren't going to say anything. But one of the things that you guys could talk about is like, oh, are you aware of the contract to close process? And they're like, what's that? Oh, well, that's where most deals actually fall apart. And they're like, oh, well, don't worry, no problem. We'll discuss it. The second thing you guys could talk about is, are you aware of the financing processes? And they'd be like, well, we talked to our banker. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought, right? Skeptical tone. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. I'll show you a couple of other options that are available in today's market, right? What's the third one? I gave you guys two. You guys got to give me one. So we talked about financing. So we talked about financing. We talked about contract to close. Contract to close includes like inspections and financings and addendums and all that. But has anybody actually sat down with you and talked to you about the offer process, right? Like those are three simple ones that people genuinely have heard about, but they don't actually understand what they mean. And so when you talk to them about these things and you use real estate specific terms, like if I were to talk to Fiona and I'm like, oh, hey, blah, 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 she would understand, oh, there's an inspection, right? There's a financing addendum. There's a, lead-based paint addendum, right? We would understand that, but they don't know what that means, right? They've never seen a real estate contract. Well, a lot of agents haven't seen a real estate contract either, but I assume you guys have. They don't know the wording. They don't know the language. One of the reasons why we won so many deals is because we analyzed the contract and we figured out there was little lines we could cross out that made it better for the seller when we were in the competitive market of Seattle. So Mrs. Jones, has anyone taken the time to walk you through the three most important things about buying a home in today's market? That was obviously not done in tonality with pauses or anything of that nature, but just wanted to read it through it. They're going to say no. And you're going to be like, yeah, I didn't think so. Well, what I love to do is educate my clients so that they can make the best decision possible, even if that means you wait. And we say that in this market with those buyers who say, well, we're not in a rush. We just want to wait. Call us back in 9 months. Call us back 3 years later, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's a line that we would use for that specific instance. And then you would say something like, so why don't we meet for a quick cup of coffee? And before the drink is cold, I'll share with you the three most important things that I tell all my top clients about buying a home in today's market. And one of my clients, Kuval, he brand new agent, first year in, he used this with a super tough client. That client went off and bought a $1.4 million house with him. He's in LA, so obviously prices are a little bit higher. But you guys, 3 tips on the bottom. You can discuss like interest rates, best way to get the best rate, the economy. Buyers are getting seller concessions, great deals. Market has more inventory, market's less competitive, right? You could talk about the contract to close process. So, we already gave you a couple of freebies down here. So Cody, anything you want to add on that?
No, man, like this is amazing. Like I said, this playbook frame is something that we use with all of our agents. Like it's something that like we train them on. I know it's something that you go deeper with them on tonality and how to actually get more deals under contract. Like, the back end, like we really work on the front end side. So I hear a lot of the initial appointment setting. You hear a lot of the contract to close conversations as well as the appointment setting. But like that framework, like 100% of the time, like the big thing that I say to all of our top performing clients, and the biggest thing I've realized with a lot of our top performing clients around the playbook frame is that the teams that are doing this really well are performing at a really high level because they're educating the market and they're getting to that prospect before they're even actively searching. Yep. And then if you just give them the right information, and the reason that is so important, 3 most important things is because you're like, I've been saying this for a while, you're battling the media. Media is giving people shitty information. CNN, Fox. That's where they're getting a lot of their housing knowledge. Or Uncle Fred is telling them they need 20% down. Uncle Fred is giving them shitty information, or their, other friends and family are giving them bad information. So you're combating bad information, and there are people that are sitting on the sidelines just because they don't have the right information. So we encourage all of our clients, like, if you, like, your business would drastically change if you sat down with 5 to 10 buyers a week. It would drastically change. And there's an easy way to do this, and it's the playbook frame. So you need to have more belly to belly conversations. You need to date more people, essentially, is what.
Oh my God, Cody, you can't be dating multiple people. What's wrong with you?
You need to date more people. So
we'll go through there's the baseline frame. I'll just show you guys how to use it real quick. We don't necessarily have time. I have an appointment that I got to jump off to, and it's already 11:30. So you guys, this is for the buyer who's like, I just want to see that house. You're basically at a stalemate. You're going to use this with Mrs. Jones and say, hey, I know you were interested in 123 Banana Street and a bunch of areas. Why don't we just go see the kickoff house, right? And then you're going to plan some time to see the house and to plan a little bit of time afterwards to just chat. And it's just to get them into action, right? So just plan to meet with me for a few minutes extra after the appointment so that we can create our game plan based off of the home we view together. Great. Really excited to meet you and see some awesome properties, right? So this is for the buyer that's like, I don't want to meet. Just send me stuff, right? You've already used all the rebuttals. So I'd love to send you some stuff, but do you actually even know what you're looking for? They're like, yeah, we're just looking for the great deal. You would use this one, right? You'd use the kickoff house because you need a baseline, right? So that's how you can think of it. It's your baseline. And then the last one is the grandma framework. This is courtesy of my good buddy, Grant, from DC. He's a killer. And you basically are going to say, hey, can I tell you the exact things I tell my top clients, and then share the 3 strategies I share with them. Strategy number 1 is get pre-qualified, right? And you can start to do a pre-approved buyer's tour. Strategy number 2 is we meet for 15 minutes so we can discuss the top 3 things. The third one is you could pick the kickoff house, and that's where I picked the best house on the market based off the criteria you told me. We meet there, and then we create a game plan afterwards. So which one are you guys leaning towards? You guys would be shocked at how many people say number 2. You guys would be shocked when you use the grandma framework, which is basically you give them 3 options and you let them choose. You'd be shocked at how many people are like, well, maybe it would make sense for us to meet for a few minutes to actually figure out what we're really looking for before we start looking at homes. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this class. I really, really, really believe that one of the major reasons why agents get ghosted is because nobody taught them the importance of tonality. Nobody taught them the importance of verbal pauses. Nobody taught them how to say the right things instead of saying the wrong things. Business is super fun when you know what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and you have the confidence. This was just a little baby bite-sized nugget of what I teach inside the Real Estate Sales Academy and what I teach to my private one-on-one clients. If you possibly feel like I would be a good coach for you, a good mentor for you, do me a favor, book a call with me and my team so that we can see if we can actually help you get to where you want to go and get more time, more freedom, and make more money helping more of the people that want to actually work with you. Anyways, if you're interested, book below on my calendar, and I can't wait to see if we can possibly help you. I'll talk to you soon.